So now let's discuss the most important aspect of cloud computing, that is AWS Amazon Web Services in detail. We will learn about AWS and its infrastructure in this video. So what is AWS? Amazon Web Services is a cloud computing platform that manages and maintains hardware and infrastructure, reducing the expense and complexity of purchasing and running resources on site for a business and modules. These resources are available for free or a fee per user. AWS is comprehensive and simple to use computing platform offered by Amazon. Did you know that in 2020, AWS broke the record of being a 10 billion business? So come let's go through the infrastructure and technology of AWS. AWS operates globally in 26 regions across 6 continents. Each region consists of multiple availability zones. These are the physical data centers where computers reside, which are geographically isolated to lessen the chances of local tragedy affecting a whole region. Furthermore, the AWS Continent Delivery Network has over 200 edge sites around the world, which are known as CDN, Content Delivery Network. A content delivery network refers to a geographically distributed group of servers that work together to provide fast delivery of internet content. In addition to the public available regions, there are few special regions. The AWS Government Cloud Services are available in 2 regions for those working in for the US government and China. There are 2 regions that are run by local qualified firms in compliance with Chinese law and regulations. AWS owns a high-speed fiber optic network that connects all those regions, availability zones, and edge sites. AWS has even developed its hardware to improve the speed and reliability of its network. You are probably already familiar with the AWS network. AWS customers include Netflix, Twitch, Hulu, Reddit, and Slack. AWS provides a wide range of services across various domains. Let's discuss some core services. First, what if you wanted to create an application? AWS provides computing services that can support the app development process from start to finish. From developing, deploying, and running to scaling the application up or down based on requirements. The popular services include EC2, AWS Lambda, Amazon Lightsail, and Elastic Beanstalk. Second, for storing application data, you could use AWS storage services that would enable you to store, assess, manage, and analyze data to ensure the costs are reduced. Agility is improved and innovation is accelerated. The popular services within this domain include Amazon S3, EBS, S3 Glacier, and Elastic File Storage. Third, you can also store the user's data in a database with AWS services, which you can then optimize and manage. Popular services in this domain include Amazon RDS, DynamoDB, and Redshift. Fourth, if you want to scale up or down your application, you would be able to do so with the networking services provided by AWS. Some of the popular network services include AWS VPC, Amazon Route 53, and Elastic Load Balancing. Other domains that AWS provides services in analytics, blockchain, containers, machine learning, the Internet of Things, and so on. To access the services, we need to create an account on AWS console. To do so, use this link. On clicking the given link, a home page will be open. After that, follow the given steps. Click on Create an AWS account. Fill in your details according to the description, then verify your email address and follow the instructions. After successfully sign up, you will be on this page. Now click on Sign in to the console. After signing in, the following page will be open. Now we are ready to assess our services. Let's have some discussion about database in AWS. There are a lot of options to store your data by using multiple database services in AWS. Some of these services are RDS, Managed Relational Database in AWS Cloud that you can launch in minutes with a few clicks. Aurora, fully managed MySQL compatible relational database with 5x performance and enterprise level features. DynamoDB, a managed NoSQL database offering extremely fast performance, elastic stability, data, and reliability. Redshift, fast, fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse at less than a tenth the cost of traditional solutions. Elastic Cache, deploy, operate, and scale an in-memory cache in the AWS cloud that supports Redis and Memcached. Data Migration Service, migrate your database to the cloud easily and inexpensively with zero downtime. So now let's have a look at how to assess these services. First of all, sign into your AWS console account which we created in last session. So once you're in the AWS console, click on service which is on the top left. After a menu will be open, from the menu select database. After selecting database, database services can be viewed on the page. In these services, there is an option RDS, click on it. After selecting RDS, the RDS console will be open. In the resources section, there is a DB instance option, select that option. After selecting instance, a new page will open. Now select create database. Below page will open on screen. Now select the engine from the given options according to your requirements. When you select an engine, you can see its information by clicking on the info option. We are going to use MySQL, so select MySQL engine. Now scroll down to the templates menu and select dev test from the menu. Scroll down to the setting and full details. Then scroll down to see other already selected option and you can see so many options and services AWS is providing. You can also see the cost and billing options from services you have opted for. After selecting options, you required finally click on create database and your instance is ready to use. In the last session, we went through AWS database services. Now let's have a look at the storage services that AWS offers. Storage services plays a big role among all the services that good computing provides. They are highly used by multiple organizations and individual consumers all around the globe. There are a lot of storage services provided by AWS we can select according to our requirements. One of these services is EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage, which is a low latency block storage. Your hand drives and all your web servers, data servers, or analytic engines use EBS. Let's say you have a requirement to have shared file storage, then EBS would be the best solution for architecture. It provides high fault tolerance with consistent latencies and you pay only for what you have chosen. So you don't have to re-provision it. Then you have S3, a simple storage service and one of the most popular service AWS offers. It is secure and has 11 times durability. You can store and access any type of data over the internet. It is also used for backup and recovery and tiered archives. It also acts like a data lake for a big data analytics. Now, if we have something called cold data that we want to keep for audit records or some archival records, AWS has something for that called Glacier. Glacier is a very economical archival service. Its rate starts as low as 4 cents a gigabyte, which is very cheap. You have also something called storage gateway, where you apply these virtual devices to your data center. Then you can store all your data through the storage gateway in the cloud. This is very popular service in the hybrid environment if you want to store some data in the cloud and some in your data center. There is a host of data transfer services also that helps you to move your data to the cloud, and it can go from a small amount of data that you can transfer over the internet to exabytes of data that you can transfer through a truck. So let's look at three services closely and understand how to use it. First of all, sign into your AWS console account. So once you're in the AWS console, click on Services, which is on the top left. After, a menu will be open. From the menu, select Storage. After selecting Storage, storage services can be viewed on the page. From these options, select S3. The S3 management console will be open. Let's create a bucket. To do so, click on Create Bucket. You will find this page now. You have to fill details according to your requirements. After filling in all details, click on Create Bucket, which is at bottom of the page. Your bucket is ready to use. Now you can upload files and folders to the bucket. Usually, when we talk about networking in cloud, we are concerned about how you isolate your resources, which is a key requirement for all the organizations which are moving their workload to the cloud. There are networking services in AWS that may help you to do so. Like, you can use VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. It isolates the cloud resources within your virtual private network. Then you can use AWS Direct Connect. It provides dedicated network connections between your network and your AWS VPC. It reduces your network cost, increases bandwidth, and consistent network experience by bypassing the internet. Then there we have something called Elastic Load Balancing, which is a management service that automatically distributes application traffic across multiple EC2 instances in the cloud. AWS also has something called Route 53, which is fully managed, highly available cloud DNS service. It connects user requests to infrastructure running in AWS. Let's go to the AWS console and take a look at networking services. First of all, sign into your AWS console account. So once you will be in the AWS console, click on the services, which is on the top left. From the menu, select networking and content delivery. You will find all networking services. From these services, select VPC. VPC management console will open. VPC. To do so, click on Create VPC. The below page will open the screen. Fill in the details according to your requirement. VPC setting from the given options. A preview will be visible in the right section of the page. After confirming this preview, click on Create VPC, which is at the bottom of the page. Your VPC is ready to use. Now you can keep your cloud resources within your virtual private network. AWS provides two different platforms to access and manage various AWS services. One of them is AWS Management Console, which we have already discussed in previous sessions. Now, let's discuss about second platform, that is AWS Command Line Interface. AWS Command Line Interface AWS CLI is an AWS tool that enables developers to control Amazon public cloud services by typing commands on a command line. There are different interfaces for different operating systems, like Linux shells use common shell programs such as Bash, Zesh, and TC shell to run commands. Windows run commands either in PowerShell or Windows Command Processor. Or we can run commands on EC2 instances through a remote terminal such as PuTTY or SSH. Why we use AWS CLI? There are so many different reasons that make AWS CLI preferable choice to access all AWS services. Some of reasons are: AWS CLI is easy to install. Previous toolkits such as AWS EC2 API toolkit took several steps and forced the user to set up multiple environment variables. There were plenty of places to make a wrong move and bog the install. One huge benefit of AWS CLI is that installation is smooth, quick, simple, and standardized. It supports all Amazon Web Services. Previously, you needed a dedicated CLI tool for just the EC2 service. It worked well, but it didn't let users control the Amazon Web Services, like, for instance, the AWS RDS, Relational Database Service. The AWS CLI, by contrast, lets you control all the services from one simple tool. It saves a lot of time. GUIs are great when you are just learning the ropes of a system. Once you get up and running, the user-friendly graphical interface tools start to stand in your way. Most users find it faster and easier to use the AWS CLI once they reach a certain level of proficiency. Automation by scripting is biggest reason why developers prefer AWS CLI. The ability to automate control of all Amazon's web services with scripts is possibly the biggest benefit. Partial task automation can free developers from needing to log in into the AWS Management Console. Shell scripts make it easy to fully automate cloud infrastructure. Now, let's see how AWS CLI works. To start with AWS CLI, first we need to download and install AWS command line interface. You can download AWS CLI from this link. When you go to given link, below page will open. Now you can select your CLI according to your system requirement. That is, if you have Windows, then download CLI for Windows. After downloading, open downloaded file and follow instructions to install CLI on your computer. Last installation step should look like this. To confirm installation, open command prompt window and at the command prompt use AWS version command. Now we have to configure AWS CLI to connect to your AWS account. To configure, use command AWS configure and insert values against each label according to your user details. The following example displays detailed help for the Amazon EC2 describe instances operation. We will learn more about how to use CLI for AWS services in upcoming sessions. Let's discuss what we have learned till now. We have discussed that Amazon Web Services is a cloud computing platform that manages and maintains hardware and infrastructure, reducing the expense and complexity of purchasing and running resources on site for business and modules. It operates globally in 26 regions across 6 continents. Each region consists of multiple availability zones. There are the physical data centers where computers reside, which are geographically isolated to lessen the chances of local tragedy affecting a whole region. Then we learned about services provided by AWS such as compute, database, networking and storage services and how to access them. Till now, we have got an overview about 2 ways to access services. First, AWS console and second, AWS command line interface. Next, we'll learn about services and how to use them in depth.